Diagnosed with cancer a year ago and having been left with facial palsy, James Parkin has processed his experience through his new album. My Cure includes 9 songs, and before we talk to James, let's just have a listen to some of his tunes.
Life came along and dealt a hurtful blow. One day I'm good, the next I'm slow. I know I'll make it if I keep my mind taking one day at a time. Be mindful and enjoy the journey. This will be my cure. Of this I'm sure.
Fantastic. Well, James, thank you so much for coming in. And I suppose what we've got there is a true icon of how to take something negative and turn it into a positive.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, I've been playing music for 20, 25 years, and it was always my plan to make an originals album. I'd been singing and trying to copy other people with my music for years, but making an original album was something I wanted to do from January 2016. And I just started writing my first song when I was diagnosed with cancer. And through that process, I just kept writing. So NHS were fantastic. Within a few weeks, they got rid of the tumour, which was in my jaw here. But unfortunately, the tumour was wrapped around my nerves, so they had no choice but to sever my facial nerves on this right hand side. So literally 0% movement, can't smile, blink, or close my eyes properly. And then of course there was radiotherapy to go through to make sure that it stayed away. And numerous other operations as well. I had a nerve taken from my thigh and put into my jaw, and also some fat from my groin put into there as well to give it some blood supply. Because you can imagine they nuked it with radiation. Yeah. Not much is going to grow, so it needed its own blood supply. And that took 14 hours. The operation didn't go well. I ended up with a hemorrhage. Then I had 2 days of leeches being put onto my face, trying to suck the blood and out, keep it under control, whilst they prepped me to do the operation again. So it was a really rocky journey. Yeah. And
that's the thing, is many sort of singer-songwriters out there write from their own experiences, but this is quite a unique experience to write from.
Yeah, I mean, one minute I'm writing this love song and it's sounding good, and I'm thinking, okay, I know how to write love songs, but I can't write. Well, I could write an album of love songs, but I wanted to do something else. I wanted to give it some substance, and yeah, when the cancer thing came along, it was like, okay, well, geez, I've certainly got something to write about now. Yeah.
That's it. And was it kind of like a self-therapy during your recovery time?
It was, yeah. I had, it's funny, I had one mental therapy session, just to check that I was okay up here, because it's a lot to process, right? And the therapist said, you thought about writing your thoughts down, and it's like, to be honest, I'm doing that. I'm just doing it in the form of poetry to music, and the song that we just heard, My Cure, is the title track to the album, and it starts the album. It's the first track, and the story begins there. But at the same time, I was also going through a relationship that was very up and down. So there is that sort of relationship side to it. There's then inevitably some depression that goes with being given that sort of news, and so I write about that. And I also write about, you start to question I certainly question my place in the world. I went on a songwriting retreat to help get better, really. I didn't even know there were songwriting retreats. You know, I was Googling yoga retreat, and number 9 on Google was songwriting. I thought that sounds better. So I went on that and wrote a song called Halfway Up Our Mountain, which is, you know, which deals with, when you get something like cancer, it feels so massive to me. But in an infinite universe of billions of organisms, it's tiny. It's a tiny thing. So trying to understand, you know, how important is this? How big is this? You know, and so being able to put that out through song was really helpful.
And then through this album, we kind of go on that journey with you.
Yeah, it's in a sort of true Pink Floyd sense, a concept album. You know, it's a story. It starts in January with a cancer diagnosis, and then it goes right the way through to a song called Lullaby at the end, which I wrote for my 10-year-old daughter, which I wrote when I had the all clear for nearly a year. But it was a way, I mean, the lyrics in the song sort of say to my daughter, you know, life is just a journey. Relax, enjoy the ride. You know, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. No. So just enjoy today, enjoy the moment.
And we saw a little bit in that video as well how maybe has your style adapted for when you're playing? I saw you obviously holding your face there. Is that just out of practicality, or is that attributed to the music as well? It
is. I mean, I play on playing live is a massive part of what I do, and I can't do that live because I'm playing guitar. I need a third hand, or maybe just someone to come behind me and hold my cheek up. But in a studio, there's certain letters like Fs are slightly more difficult with this dropped. So I just pull this up, and it just makes me sound a little bit clearer, a little bit like I used to, I guess. So in a studio, I can get away with that. And you know, when we made a behind-the-scenes video, I wanted to sort of show that, because just because I had cancer, just because I was left with facial palsy, it didn't mean that dream of writing that album had to stop. You know.
Well, it certainly sounds like an incredible journey that you've been on, and obviously if anybody out there that's listening maybe wants to go on that journey with you and listen to the whole album, how do they go about doing that?
Many ways. So jamesparkinmusic.com is my website. I'm also on Amazon, I'm on Spotify. Pretty much whatever platform you choose to use, you choose to listen to music, you can find me on. Just search for My Cure.
Fantastic. James, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, Richard.